What's going on, guys? It's Corey from SuperKamiGuru9000, and the battle in Hueco Mundo continues in this week's review of Bleach, Chapter 491. This week's chapter of Bleach was just a big fat action sandwich, and it was pretty good. You know, there wasn't anything too outstanding. Really, the whole chapter amounted to Kuruge and Ichigo basically throwing their big attacks at each other, which was just giant, energy blasts, essentially. You got your technical Getsuga Tensho, and then, of course, Kuruge is shooting these giant blasts of energy at him. But really the important stuff in this chapter, there was a little bit of dialogue. They were talking about Ishida, and they were talking about how in the past he had that weird glove that suppressed all of his powers, and supposedly in the past, him and possibly his other relatives, this was like an old Quincy thing that only they abided by, and all these other Quincy's were like, fuck that shit, we're gonna become super powerful German Nazi angels. And apparently that's what Kuruge is doing, and they don't go too much farther into this. We can see that actually Ichigo and Urahara talked about this a little bit in the past, but really that's it. We still don't really know too much more about what's going on here. At the end of the chapter, we can see that Kuruge is getting ready to use a really, really powerful technique where he starts to gather a ton of energy, a lot of the reishi, everything in Hueco Mundo, everything from pure energy from Inoue's techniques, even things from the sand, the buildings, everything. This is essentially a spirit bomb. Now, Kuruge has finally built up all the energy he needs for this superpowered technique, which again is just another energy blast, and he gets ready to fire it right at Ichigo. That is, of course, until Ayon appears. If you don't know who Ayon is, he's that weird, freaky chimera creation that was created by the Chimera Parka, and they were Hollybell's guards, and basically he's just this giant super hollow, and he seems to break through the technique, and that's where the chapter comes to a close. Bleach 491 was pure action, and you know what, it was okay. It wasn't anything too crazy, but I can't set my expectations too high yet, because this really is the first major Quincy character that we've seen in the arc so far, and he's really our introduction to what these characters can do. So, he's not the final villain, but he's still demonstrating a lot of really cool new things that we haven't seen in the series. Again, I love his transform design. I think it's really cool and unique. And in the chapter, they were discussing how creepy it looks. In particular, the way Kubo drew this character's eyes. It looks very disturbing. And they do bring this up a few times in the chapter. And, it's funny how that sort of clashes with their angelic look as well. I think that's very clever and very unique. The return of Ayon at the end, pretty interesting. He was a pretty cool character during the last arc, the one before the Fullbring arc, and I'm sure he's probably going to get beaten again. But he was a very powerful character, so anything can and will happen. But I imagine Kuruge is going to come out on top. One thing that's interesting to note is that Ichigo is super powerful. That was displayed in the Fullbring arc, especially at the end. But the fact that this character is giving him this much trouble really does show how powerful these Quincy characters are. And if there's only one thing I had a disappointment with this week, it's that they didn't follow up on what was happening last week with the Quincy's invading Soul Society. There really wasn't anything with that, and I was kind of hoping they would follow up on that. But of course, they got to build upon these characters a little bit more, and we got to see Ichigo show off a little bit. So it wasn't a complete and total waste. Otherwise, really, really fun chapter to read, but nothing really that spectacular or groundbreaking. So I'm just going to drop a 7.5 this week. Nothing too crazy, but if you're a Bleach fan, you definitely need to check it out, as it is progressing the story slowly, and you get a little bit of cool action and artwork this week. So make sure and check it out, guys. Alright guys, it's time for the question of the week, and this question is about Ayon, the super-powered hollow that just appeared. Do you think he's actually going to stand a chance against Kuruge, or is he actually going to absorb his abilities? You can let me know with your comments below. And remember guys, if you like this video, make sure and give it a thumbs up. Remember, the more thumbs up it gets, the more potential it has to be seen by other people. Also guys, I just recently made a brand new Naruto discussion video about Kabuto, one of the major villains in the Naruto series. And the video is basically about Kabuto. Is he going to die soon? And you guys should definitely check that out if you're interested. I'll put an annotation for it right up top. That concludes my review today, guys. SuperKamiGuru9000, out.